Hey artists, in this video we're going to work on our ribbon drawing. The first step is to start with a pencil. We're going to draw a curved ribbon which kind of looks like the letter S, kind of going like zigzagging back and forth. So I want to use a pencil and vary the pressure of my lines to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then I'm going to figure out where my hatching lines are going to make the shading. The curl ribbon also looks kind of like an S, but more like a telephone cord wrapping around, kind of twisting. Once you've got them right with a pencil, use a Sharpie marker to go over the outline. And if you want to make the edge of the ribbon look like it's frayed or it's been ripped, and then use the Sharpie to do hatching and cross hatching to make the ribbon look more three-dimensional. The curl ribbon, if you want to practice extending the curl ribbon and making it a little bit longer, I did that. And then I went over it with a Sharpie marker, so the one end is a little bit frayed looking, and then I wanted to make it look like it was curving and twisting around. Then I did hatching and cross hatching to do shading in the areas where I needed the ribbon to have more depth. Now for shading this, you could do pencil shading, but I'm going to talk about colored pencil shading. But I want to start off shading with the hatching lines to really build up the value and dimension. I'm varying the width of the hatching and cross hatching to add more depth and value, thinking about the direction of the form. The third type of ribbon is a twist. It kind of looks like an X with a little bit of an emphasis on one of the edges so that you can kind of see the thickness of the ribbon. So use Sharpie to go over the outline of your twist ribbon, and then the same thing, hatching and cross hatching. Vary the width and placement of the hatching and cross hatching so that it adds more depth and dimension. Where you have closer lines, it's going to be darker. Where the lines are a little bit more spaced out, it's going to be lighter. So after you use pencil, you're going to use eraser, clean up all those stray pencil lines, and then go back and add any more hatching or cross hatching where you think you need a little bit more depth. In the next part, you're going to use colored pencils to do shading. Now, in this ribbon, I used lilac from Prismacolor, and I used an orange colored pencil from Prismacolor. And I chose purple because it's a cool color, and I chose orange because it's a warm color. So the orange is going to come forward, the purple is going to recede back, and that's going to make my ribbon look a little bit more three-dimensional. Now I'm layering and building up the pressure, starting off light and then going darker to add more realism to my ribbon, making it look three-dimensional. So color pencil layering, switching back and forth between the orange and the purple, building up the value. So in the areas with the cross hatching, that's going to be the darker areas, so I might want to add a little bit more pressure there with the purples, and then going in with the lighter color that's going to kind of give it that pop. It's almost like this is an iridescent ribbon. It kind of looks like iridescent color. Then I use like a blue violet right around the areas where the ribbon bends to give it that pop of shadow. The next ribbon, I used blue and green colored pencils. So the blue is a cool color, it's going to recede and fall back, and then this blue I press nice and hard in the cross hatching areas, and then the green, that's kind of my highlight, and it's going to go in all of the other brighter areas. So as this ribbon is getting colored in, it is getting shaded nicely, and using the green and blue are analogous color neighbors, so they look nice next to each other. The third ribbon, I used processed red and orange colored pencils. So the processed red is like a magenta and the orange is a warm color. They're both warm color pencils. So as I'm using warm colored pencils, it's given some unity to this ribbon by using colors that are in the same color scheme, right? The red and the orange are next to each other on the color wheel because they're all warm colors, and that's going to make this ribbon have some unity because I used warm colors. clean up any extra lines using that Sharpie marker. And then the last one is emphasis, a horizontal line with a vertical down line so that it has the top and the bottom part of the ribbon parallel to each other, about the same distance all the way across. Outline it with the Sharpie marker, going around all those curves and making sure that you keep your lines neat and clean. After you use Sharpie, give it a moment to dry, erase, add in your hatching. Think of the direction as kind of horizontal, so I use those kind of directional hatching lines to give some form, and then went back in with the cross direction to build up the value, make it a little darker and have some form. Then I keep shading it, add a little closer together lines, adds more value. For this emphasis, horizontal emphasis ribbon, I used processed red into orange for the first part of the ribbon. I try to stick to 2 colors in each section so that the ombre blend is a little bit easier. Make sure that your color pencils are sharp. So I use the yellow into the yellow green. Those colors value are similar, so they'll look really nice right next to each other. In the next section, I used kind of like a lighter sky blue, and I blended it into a darker blue, so 2 values of the same hue. Then I used lilac into pink, so they're both kind of like similar values there. Used kind of an orangey coral back into the lilac again. I thought that was a nice mix into each other, so have a little bit of fun choosing which colors you'll see blend into each other. This is practice, so it's okay if you don't like the way that it looks, because you can always go practice again.